Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Being Conscious. We've been talking about this phenomenal book called The Untethered Soul, and now we are going to navigate to the second segment of this book, which talks about a very crucial currency which determines the worth of an individual. If I ask you a simple question, what determines the worth of an individual? Now, there might be a plethora of answers coming from a lot of you. For some, money and financial status would determine a person's worth. For some, his relationships, how many relationships this person had over a period of time, that would determine his worth. For some, his fame and glories and the contribution he has towards society would determine his worth. Now, no matter what your answer would be, you are all right from your own unique standpoint. But if you go a little back, if you talk about the roots, if you talk about the root from where all this happened, what was the root for them to achieve such financial abundance? What was the root cause for having such everlasting relationships? What was the root cause for that contribution which is everlasting? If you closely observe and contemplate, one word would resonate a lot, and that one word is energy. Now, when we hear this word energy, we are always bound to have external images of what it means to be energetic. Now, energy is always thought about as an external phenomenon, and we think the better the quality of food we have. Modern science says that the two most potent source of energy is diet and sleep. If you have good diet, if you are able to sleep properly, when I say properly, not oversleep or undersleep, but sleep at an optimum level, your energies are bound to be sustainable. Now, the focus of this video is not about the outer energy, but the focus of this video is the unexplored realm of inner energy. Now, Michael calls this segment experiencing energy. Now, let us look at an example to understand the thought process, what this inner energy is all about. Now, let's say that you're working in a big multinational company, and you're doing fairly well in your profession. One fine day, your boss schedules a call with you and announces, sorry, we have to leave you. We have to fire you. Now, a minute, an hour before, you were absolutely in so much enthusiasm and so much passion you were working, and after the meeting, it almost feels that it's a doomsday for you. And you sulk in such a mode of depressing energy that you feel the world has come to an end. The company which just fired you was very close to your heart. You suddenly turn down the curtains of your room, you suddenly try to sulk within, you start having all kinds of unhealthy habits in terms of junk foods, and you stop exercising, you stop having all kinds of external stimulus, you stop going out, you isolate yourself in such a way that you just want to forget the pain, you don't want to face the reality, you don't want to face the music. Now, some of you might think this is but natural. This is something which should be expected from all of us. Now, here comes the fun fact. Let's say after a week, or let's say after a couple of months, suddenly the boss calls up this person, this gentleman in our analogy, and he says that we made a drastic mistake by firing you. I think removing you was the worst decision the management could ever take, and it has costed us heavily in terms of our own progress as a company. And we want to hire you, and also we are going to pay you all the things which you were lacking, like for the salary which we were not able to, for which you were technically unemployed, we are going to reimburse that salary. Now, suddenly, out of blue, this person regains that lost vigor, that lost energy. Now, what happened? His sleeping habits, his eating habits didn't substantially change, but still, now the energy is quite high. Now this example would probably give you an understanding of what it means when Michael is referring to the inner energy. Now this inner energy, the fun part of this inner energy is the source of it is coming from our own system, of our own energy system. Now Michael talks about a certain energy center which is close to our heart. In the yogic traditions, this center is called the heart chakra. Majorly there are 7 chakras in our system, but largely the source of our energy is coming from the heart chakra. That heart chakra houses what the Chinese call the chi, the West calls the spirit, and the Sanatan culture, the culture which I belong to, calls the Atman, a consciousness. To put it as simply, that word would be consciousness. Now, why did this happen? Because a change of circumstances triggered this vast upheavals of energy. At one point of time, this person lost all his energy, and at one point, when he heard that news, he suddenly he was bombarded with so much of enthusiasm and a passion and a zest for life. The reason this happened was the person in question here opened his heart when he got the good news from the boss. And when he had that doomsday kind of news at an event of him getting fired from his beloved company, that closed his heart. So Michael is saying that this inner energy, this reservoir of energy, can be accessed when you open your heart, and it is blocked when you unconsciously close it. Now, if you closely observe, every human being wants 3 things. They either want love, they either want joy, they want enthusiasm. 3 emotions is something which we all crave for. And we look for these 3 emotions in exciting experiences, having that fulfilling relationship, or maybe vacationing somewhere which we feel will create that experience of excitement and ecstasy. But understand this very important part, that experience or that event is not necessarily responsible for you to open your heart. Michael says that true consciousness, when you understand the deeper workings of consciousness, no matter what the event happening in the outside world, you can choose to always have your heart open. And what is the way that you can always have your heart open? It's very simple. You choose to never close your heart. Now that might sound easier than actually being done, but if you go deeper, because I always feel that true pearls of wisdom can only be understood when we go deeper. The pearls of any precious thing can only be understood and appreciated if a person has a deep understanding of the particular concept. Now, if you closely question this, why do people close? What is the reason they close? Now, you might say that the reason people close is because they want to protect themselves. They want to protect themselves from that seeming discomfort which happens. Now, let me give you another example for you to understand this framework. Now, let's say that growing up, you had a certain event in your life where you had to give a public speech to, let's say, 10-15 people, and you had an elocution growing up in your school, and you terribly goofed up. You goofed up to such an extent that people started laughing at you and cracking sarcastic jokes on you. Now, what happened after this event is something which happens with most of us. It wouldn't be an overstatement to say that it happens with all of us. Now, what happens is, once that particular event happens and once that event is processed in your mind, it gets stored in your subconscious. The subconscious memory is always triggered once you have a similar kind of situation. Now, let's say fast forward 10-15 years later, this person is a grown up person, maybe in his early 30s or late 30s. And now, if he's working in a certain company and he has a particular situation where he has to present his work in front of an audience or in front of the management, he'll have the same triggered mindset. because he has this belief system deep down in the subconscious that if I'm going to present, I'm most likely going to goof up and the people are going to make fun of me. So to avoid that feeling of rejection, guess what he does? He avoids making presentations. He procrastinates. He gives a lot of excuses for why he can't present. Now this idea of this example of presentation is only to make it more visual for you. Now this can be extrapolated to different situations. Maybe you feel that everyone in this world is a cheater because of some traumatic incident which happened in your past. Because you view the world, because you view the current reality based on the impressions of your past experiences unconsciously, and this is the reason, this is the root cause of fear. The reason why we don't probably a lot, if you go deep into this psychology of introversion, even there you will understand that the reason why people sort of avoid the company of people around, because there is somewhere deep down a feeling of rejection, a feeling of what the other person would think about them, and this is the reason they try to protect themselves. They are actually not protecting them from the other person, but they are protecting themselves from feeling that feeling of rejection. And the more you suppress it, the more it goes stronger. And every time you have such a situation at an event, the fear is only going to get stronger. And this is the reason why we close. Just imagine, just think of this possibility. Let's say that there's an activity which is very close to your heart. For me, reading books, making videos, writing blog posts, or practicing in my harmonium is something which is very close to my heart, and that expands my heart, that opens my heart up. And this is the time of the day when I feel a lot of enthusiasm, joy and love. For you, probably there are some other activities which fill you with these kind of emotions. But Michael is saying that we need not necessarily depend on these activities to feel this way. We can always decide to always be open, so that no matter what we are doing, you are filled with these emotions. Isn't it wonderful that we are going to get this for free, what the whole world is struggling for? The whole world is struggling for these three emotions. That's the end of the story. No matter what way they take, if you are binge watching, you want to feel excitement, if you want to feel a certain sense of enthusiasm, it might not seem obvious, right? You might seem, I'm not binge watching because I want to feel enthusiasm, love and joy, but actually we are. The reason we are is because we feel a lot of thrill. Understand this. Why do you think movies which have a lot of thrilling content and which have a lot of violence and drama, they make millions and billions? The reason why that happens is because we are unconsciously gravitating towards content which stimulates us. We all want stimulating content, because somewhere down the line that stimulating content is actually giving us a sense of high. We all live for that sense of high. But the problem with those sense of highs is those are coming from unhealthy mediums. There are more healthy mediums of highs. We can achieve the same high through harboring healthy activities. Activities like exercise, like meditation, reading books, understanding deep wisdom. These are also activities which give us that high, and they don't have any potential side effects as well. Now, the reason why understanding this dimension of inner energy is so important is because when we have this energy, when we have this kind of a mindset, it really gives us so much of abundance in within. And one very important point which I would have to focus on, he says that when we have a set of preferences, when we have what are the things which I like and what are the things which I don't like, very rigidly written, we are limiting ourselves. Because let's realize, life is not always going to happen the way we want it to happen. And if our energy source is dependent on the way we want things to happen, and if we are creating a situation such that it matches our preferences, we are limiting ourselves. Let's say you have a friend and you have a great relationship with them. Today he's all good with you and he talks all great things. Tomorrow he might say something which might upset you. And that cause of upset will suddenly reduce your energy. Because you chose to depend on that person's goodwill, good interaction to open or close your heart center or your energy valve. And the more and the lesser preferences you have, you take life as it comes, the more unlimited a life you become. The boundless possibilities which exist for such a person who has no preferences, who has no right or wrong in his checklist, this person will become a living and a walking Lord Krishna. Now, if you closely observe Lord Krishna, right, his life was anything but great. I mean, it was not comfortable at all. He had the worst situations right from his birth. He was sort of told to leave his mother and he had to go through a hell lot of a situation. Had it been a normal person, he would have been broke. But Lord Krishna always had a smile on his face. His energy levels were next level. The reason why he was able to be in such a state of equipoise is because he chose not to close his heart center no matter what the situation, no matter what the current reality he is in. And this is a skill which Michael says that we all can learn. And the more we are able to tune into that inner energy, regardless of what's happening in the outer world, people around you might think you're superhuman, but you are not, you haven't done anything great. You have just become more conscious. You have just become more conscious of the fact that the source of inner energy lies within. And you are going to get something for free which the whole world is struggling with. Thank you so much for your time on my video, and the focus of this channel is going to be on making you more conscious. And I think this book, Untethered Soul, is such a phenomenal book. And as Chanakya has once said to Chandragupta, he said that knowledge is not something that you read once and you just let it go. Knowledge is something which needs to be revised repeatedly till the time that that knowledge becomes a part of every drop of blood in your body. And this is the reason I thought we need to expand on every chapter of this book. Instead of just giving a book summary of this book, that will not fully do justice to the content which Michael has talked about in this phenomenal book called The Untethered Soul. Thank you so much, and the next set of videos are going to go more deeper as we unravel this segment of experiencing energy. Let me know how you thought about this video, and also do subscribe to this channel if you found value out of the video I have delivered. Thank you so much, and I'll meet you in the next video. Bye.